Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it, knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the program. Back into our usual Wednesday night spot.
Feels like we never left.
Do we? Do we really ever? It's Topic Thunder. My name is Brooks. That's Ben. And yes, welcome aboard the USS Rapapa, as my friend Biz so eloquently stated before. And folks, if you're tuning in, you just let us up front. We'll, of course, at the end also let you know how important you are as you all start to file into in an orderly queue, I'm sure, to the world's most dangerous chat zone. That's the Thunderdome over there. And while nobody's ever coined that phrase before for any other type of communication vehicle,
we are totally original.
Absolutely 1000% original here, folks. That's all we do. You guys are the source of our business, and Ben and I fashion ourselves as infotenders, and you have strolled into the Internet Saloon called Topic Thunder. So as Ben and I are going to pour you some conversational pieces, let's just remind ourselves that we're here for a civil discussion. Go back to your ethic. If you were ever given ethics or civics classes in your educational history in the public school system or in broader educational venues, that we want to be respectful here. We want to be kind, courteous, and always thinking about other people. Eventually, if you're new here, once you kind of get the gist of the show, that's all Ben and I are really ranting to the stars about. They're just treating our fellow human beings better. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Ben, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well. If you are tuning in, if you missed us on Monday, we spent an hour discussing Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race and Kamala Harris becoming the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. So we won't spend much time, if any time, talking about that. We're going to try to spread it around to some other fields on this show today. So if you're looking for our opinions on that subject, go back to the Monday show. It's there on the YouTube page. You can also find it on both of our Facebook pages as well as the Topic Thunder Facebook page. So if you're looking for that conversation, that's where that is. Nothing, we did say on that show, if anything big broke, we would talk about nothing in the last 48 hours other than Kamala Harris raising about $1 billion. There really is no news. There really is nothing new.
No VP candidate has come forward, although now you're kind of starting to see almost like a 2-horse race, maybe a 3-horse race, some of the names. But again, look, Ben and I, and we come from an entertainment background, right? And if you know how to do your stuff, you drag this out. You don't leak any of this out until the convention, right? The choice for VP becomes like clear at the convention, or maybe a couple days or a week before. So we're kind of 3 weeks out now from utter chaos on the west side of Chicago.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. So we'll definitely be tuned into that. But there's some other things that we need to talk about. But before we get there, we need to talk about what we're imbibing.
You know what? It's gonna tell you I didn't even put a link up. It's a Costco wine. I got the bottle here.
There you go. I've got my strawberry water.
It looks like the Eye of Sauron. I don't know.
Yes.
I so badly need a new eyeglass prescription that I can't read it. So,
oh
yeah, old man Brooks over here probably needs bi, tri, and quadfocals. So here's to my deteriorating eyesight. As we kind of dive into the headline.
Well, I'll say this. Those of you that are longtime viewers of the show, you know that when it's Costco wine night, About
Oh.
45 minutes to 50 minutes into the show, things get real interesting with old Captain Brooks over there.
All right. Okay. So I've promoted to captain. And just between you and I, Ben, because I know
Just between us, because no one else is listening.
At this point, like I know you're gonna turn the tape off, as he used to say.
Yes.
I may have had one or two before the show, just because.
Hey, nobody is judging here. No judgment zone.
So we certainly do take our duties here on Topic Thunder very seriously. This is not a easy topic to discuss. This is not a by any means pleasant topic to discuss. However, this is a topic we have discussed before, and we will discuss again, unfortunately.
Yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about the murder.
There's no other way to describe it.
By an Illinois law enforcement official, and again, despite everything else going on in our country and the world, we need to park on this.
Because you know what, this story happened Saturday and has been kind of swept under the rug, so to speak, or ignored a little bit because of the Joe Biden news that came out on Sunday. Right. It really moved this out of the news cycle. But dude, folks, we are talking about a George Floyd type situation here. Like, this was egregious. This was unjustifiable on every level. And as now we're finding out, the man responsible for this is a officer who has been passed around to different police departments and law enforcement departments 6 different times over the past 4 years.
So so let's back up, because for those of us who maybe
not everybody really knows
about this situation. Look, there's hi Dad. There are released today was the video cam footage, the body cam footage from the law enforcement personnel that responded to a 911 call from a black woman who believed that there was somebody there was somebody burglaring around their property. Right. There was some strangers that they saw something or somebody in their backyard. So they called 911. They called the police.
What you're quote unquote supposed to do, right?
Right. You follow procedure. Again, this is a black female husband, I believe, sleeping upstairs at this point. Again, I don't know that
part I'm not for sure about, but so far you're what I know is what you're saying. Yeah.
So 2 white officers respond to the call, look, I don't know if we want to play this. Video.
Yeah, maybe not. It's a little disturbing because
it's if you've got the if you want to watch this, it is out there, and there are NBC, ABC, whatever. There are links to this on very credible news sites. It is difficult to watch because what happens here is essentially this woman, in my opinion, becomes immediately fearful for her life when 2 white big law enforcement officials show up to her.
The one guy was like 6'4", 260 pounds.
And what eventually happens is
30 minutes, by the way. It's 30 minutes after they show up. They've been there for 30 minutes by the time what you're about to describe starts happening.
They say they patrolled the yard. They look, there's nothing there. They're in her home at this point and in the kitchen. And there's shit, folks. It was that time. She was making dinner, right? and there was a boiling pot of water on the stove. So the officer, actually the offending officer, tells her, "Why don't you take that off the stove? Just remove, just for safety's sake, just so no, if we have more questions or anything like that." Which is a very reasonable.
Sure.
It's a
Correct.
very reasonable ask.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
And she complies. And as she complies, the officer, I don't know, man, this is where it gets tough, man, because a switch gets
She
flipped.
says something. She says something to him that kind of seems to set him off.
I don't remember what it was, and I'm not.
She says, from what I understand, she yells, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And then she's got the pot of boiling water in her hand, and she takes a step towards the officer.
At which point, the officer
says he's going to shoot her in the face. He says the words, "I'm going to shoot you in the face." And then he shoots her in the fucking face.
Without giving her a chance to stand down, or I get being brought a pot of water, a hot boiling pot of water that
you don't. There's other ways to handle it than shooting her in the fucking face. That's what this comes down to.
What we can cut that every single way. Let's be honest. The point of the show is to kind of we challenge each other,
objectively
opinions,
look at everything. Yes.
Right. Coming at a law enforcement official with a boiling pot of water is just a bad idea.
100%. Yes.
1,000%. Right. There's nothing that I think she did after that point, because you can rebuke me in the name of whatever religious name
right.
you want.
Right. Exactly.
Lady, just put down a pot of boiling water. Let's not bring that. I don't give a shit. Right.
But Adrian makes a good point. They could have turned the stove off themselves too, if they were that worried about it. It's just a matter of going over and turning the stove off, right?
But, so we try to give our stories in a bubble without a lot of context. However, at the same time, a lot of the show we try to point out context, right?
Right.
At this point, let's point out some context here. She is an African American female, being approached by two Caucasian, very large law enforcement officials, and like it or not, believe in it or not, experienced it or not, there is a certain amount of tension when those certain elements are put into the equation. It just that there's a baseline elevation of tensions, and we don't have to go too far to go back into George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, where it objectively trends on the racist level. I will put my word and my reputation on the line that this would not have happened if this woman was white.
Yeah, it's very safe to say that.
So let's dive into so not to gloss over the absolutely horrifying details of this situation. This officer shoots this woman, Sonia Massey, say her name,
3 times in the face.
3 times in the face, which isn't terribly difficult with the weaponry. Our law enforcement, it's just quick boom boom boom, and then denied using his med pack to perhaps and his partner's med pack to perhaps save her life, and then denied her partner from also trying to help save her life.
That's disgusting.
That's where we find out who the fuck you are, man.
Mm-hmm, for
Right?
sure.
Because
Like maybe you made a mistake. Yeah, maybe you made a mistake in the moment and you overreacted. If you have any sort of compassion as a human being for that other human being, you try to render aid.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. So yes, Ben, you hinted towards it. And here's ABC News reporting that this dude had 6 police jobs over the last 4 years.
If you were looking for a poster child for all cops are bad, it would be this guy right here.
If you have ever hired somebody for an important role, hey, okay, we all know I'm an X-ray tech, right? I have also in my position a say in who we hire, right? Because it's important to know who's delivering ionizing radiation to people.
Right.
Right? Literally, the second most powerful form of energy in the universe that strips orbital electrons from your body. I need to make sure you know what you're doing and you know how to do it well enough that you're not harming our patients. Here we have this dude who's gotten 6 different jobs in 4 years.
That's crazy. And Ryan Hansen, it does have pedophile priest vibes to it.
And also, this definitely sheds the light on the need for a national database of law enforcement officers who have been dismissed of their duties for whatever reason, especially if you're involved in the death of a civilian. If you've used in any capacity lethal force on a civilian, it should be on your record on any national database before you get hired for anything. Right? And I'm not saying it shouldn't be like, oh, you killed somebody, you're out. No, it should be considered for sure.
Right. You need you need to be asked about it, explain yourself, and the prospective employer can make the decision whether or not they believe that you are a problem or not.
Is this an egregious use of force? An undisciplined use of lethal force? Or was it a situation where you not only saved your own life, but the lives of other people in the use of lethal weaponry? Those things need to be considered in my theoretical database here, right?
Yep. Some great points being made in the Thunderdome, too, right here, by the way.
We thank God for body cams, but there are here in Chicago, there are sometimes rules where they can turn it off, and there are laws being proposed that limit the times that law enforcement officers have to keep those cameras on.
Yeah, that's
would
crazy.
you ever want that?
The body cams have exposed now ultimately the reason why that woman was so afraid in that situation. What happened to her is why she was so afraid. Because those things happen in that community and to those people for generations from law enforcement. They have seen family members be abused by law enforcement. They themselves have been abused by law enforcement. So when confronted,
been killed by law enforcement.
So when they are confronted with law enforcement, there is a visceral reaction that happens. It's a honestly, I would say what I would compare it to like a form of PTSD almost.
It is. That is so. That is what is called generational PTSD. Is that there is a level of anxiety passed down generationally. Call it what you will, a distrust of the white man. But I'll tell you this much, by family in particular, and you don't have to look too far from the nation of Poland to have a certain distrust of regional and cultural people due to traumatic events. And I'm selfishly talking about my family's history, which goes back 80 some years. What African Americans are talking about goes back 250 years plus.
Mm-hmm. Plus,
right?
yeah.
So for all of the flowers we throw to the World War II veterans and the Holocaust survivors and such, but we then sit there and go, no, those black people, right? And not acknowledge the existence of their several times over generational trauma and distrust of us. It's people who look like Ben and I here on the show. They're just generational distrust, and like they're gonna hurt me. Is their baseline is silly and disproportionate, and honestly, not necessarily a religious person, but it's a sin. It's a sin specifically of this country to not acknowledge how horrifying it must be to be a person of color.
Yeah, Hayden doesn't trust that beard of yours.
Don't trust the beard, no. Although, I'll tell you this, I look like, now I officially come full circle and look like the gentleman who discovered X-rays. I'm just going to say. But we have to acknowledge that when they say it's the system, when they say it's generational, like that's not an excuse. That's not like somebody trying to sweep it. That is the truth of this particular situation. And how many times do we have to have this conversation? How many people that aren't named Sonia Massey that have suffered her same fate at the feet of law enforcement, that if you've been a fan of the show and you've been a combatant and contestant in the Thunderdome, know that we have told everyone and tried to show everyone the proof that some really nefarious elements have infiltrated law enforcement.
There needs to be a national standard. There has never been, and it is not, a national standard, a federal standard by which law enforcement departments operate. They are all kind of left to their own devices in a lot of ways.
True.
You know, and before the internet, they didn't communicate with each other, which made even more issues, which allowed rapists and serial killers to run rampant because there was no system of communication to tell literal counties next to each other that they might have similar crimes. I mean, watch any crime documentary from the 70s, 80s, and up to the early 90s. It's the same deal. Like, oh, if we'd just known that there were murders exactly like this a county over, we would have been able to put the pieces together quicker. But we didn't communicate with each other because that's just the way it was. Like, there's no standard for law enforcement in this country. And when you understand that law enforcement, police departments didn't even exist before, I believe it was like 1834.
And why was that? Why did they get created, Ben?
Well, if you, don't take my word for it. I've brought this up before. I believe the documentary on Netflix is called Power, and it goes into depth. But it comes from, and KRS-One said this back in the 80s in one of his rap songs. Officer comes from the word overseer. They were the job of law enforcement started as a keep the freed black guys in line. A band of people that were deemed law enforcement by their community were essentially there to keep black people in line and enforce those laws. The Texas Rangers. Law enforcement across the board is rooted in racism. There is no denying it. Our current law enforcement,
yes,
is rooted in racism, and then it became militarized.
Well, I mean, yeah, that they have billion-dollar budgets and like you said, military equipment. Like
think about it. Think about the equipment they have just to stop protesting and rioting, which is essentially their job is to protect property, to protect wealthy people's property. That's somehow the job of law enforcement, and then it leads to there's the union busting that is rooted in law enforcement. I really encourage you to go and watch that documentary on Netflix. I'm 95% sure it's called Power. It really, you get it, you learn something, and you come away walking away from it personally. All cops are bad. On some level, to do that job, to take on that job, you have to have a mentality of, it's my job to keep law and order. I'm the one that this place needs law and order, and I'm the one to be that guy. You have to have a level of ego and a level of wanting to control the actions of other human beings in you to want to do that job. And once you're in the job, once you see the underbelly of that job, to not speak up or walk away from that job and instead participate in that slimy underbelly of the job. There are good people, I'm sure, that do the job of law enforcement officer. But on some level in their personality, there is a control factor that is deeply rooted within them that makes them attracted to that job. That is a weird and oftentimes leads to situations where they have all the power and they abuse that power because they think that they're anointed as better than or above the person that they're law enforcing.
There's no doubt. Everything actually you just said. There's also a way to kind of slice it out and say that that's not necessarily endemic to a police officer, right? That is that could be across the board, and that's actually a plague of humanity. Is that kind of arrogance or that thought? Like, because that applies to, I don't know, doctors. That applies to.
But there's a different level of power that comes with law enforcement.
Is there? Because while yes, we're sitting here equating like, and we're coming off this discussion of law enforcement like murdering, literally murdering somebody. You don't hear about the doctor who nicked the wrong artery and caused that patient right. You don't hear that. It's not publicized like that, and that doctor continues to make millions of dollars as a heralded surgeon at their facility, right? You don't hear about this situation. We all complain about going to and trusting a mechanic to fix your car. These guys are going to rip you off. Like, that's actually the same type of discussion. It's the betrayal of the, I guess, trust or transaction, right? Like, for whatever my skill is, I'm going to charge you for it, and I'm going to charge you based on my level of skill and quality of the service or product, but it's also on that trust, right? I think because there isn't a national database for these very specialized and look, most cops are probably probably just people like, this is my job. Look, don't fuck this up. Hey, look, all right, hey, don't do that, and probably let people go on the little things, and
Sure.
you know, and I think we've all probably all of us white folk listening and participating
On some
probably
level, yeah.
benefited from that a little more than others. I think at the root, generally there's a percentage of people who are just like, this is my job. Please don't push me beyond the boundaries of like when I need to like take whatever action I can or I'm supposed to take in an escalation type scenario. There is a difference though when you have lethal force at your side.
Yes. And you have immunity from being held accountable for your actions in that moment. Qualified immunity adds to the problem. It's a shield that allows the guys with bad intentions to be shielded from being held accountable.
4 years.
There you go.
What?
And he shot a woman in the face 3 times, unarmed, an unarmed woman who called the police for help.
Called her for help.
And he shot her in the face 3 times over boiling water. I can't wait to hear his lawyer try to defend and justify this man's actions.
It's a shame all around. It's a pox on law enforcement. But especially so, it hurts even more because it's Illinois. I will say it's Southern Illinois, Champaign. So, but Champaign is the capital city of Illinois, right? You would think, taser would have been like, right? Thank you. That's Giovanni.
Yeah, just
That's
have
my
a
friend
conversation, a human conversation.
A human conversation. Like, hey, please put down back up. I mean, stand back, put down your gun. I don't know. De-escalate the situation. That's your job. You shouldn't want to kill people. Your first instinct or second
Here's the thing. She poured the water into the sink before she was shot in the face. Keep in mind, I'll screen share it again. I put it up on the screen and we didn't talk about it, but it's important to point out here what really did actually happen here. She says, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and then she apologized after the officer threatened to shoot her. She poured the water into the sink and ducked down behind a counter, covering her face with what appears to be a red oven mitt. She briefly rose, and Grayson shot her 3 times in the face. So she didn't even have the water anymore. She was no longer a real threat. Now, you'll probably hear her lawyer say, well, when she ducked behind that counter, he didn't know what she may have grabbed for. Right? That's probably his out. And qualified immunity will probably shield him from being held accountable in this situation. This is only the first step of it. When he is inevitably found not guilty of murder in this situation, which is surely where this is headed, because she ducked down behind that counter.
I can't see a jury of people with a competent prosecutor saying like, that guy totally reacted, totally fine.
Right, his life was in danger. Yeah,
absolutely in danger from this woman who was in her like nightgown and evening robe.
Yeah, and then again, he said he was going to shoot her in the face, and then he shot her in the face
with like less than a second.
Yeah, no time to react.
Like, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Respond.
Oh, I just shot you in the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that won't be. I'm sure that surely that won't be the last time we talk about that story.
And unfortunately, we won't be the last time we will discuss a story such as. But we also have to discuss some other things. We're going to kind of get back to. We're going to open up the old the files that we've been sitting on. NATO's important, folks. NATO is a treaty between 32 different countries to provide defense together. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, even though sometimes some of those countries aren't on the Atlantic Ocean, has been a staple of our national identity.
Right. It's an agreement that these 32 countries will defend each other and help each other should one of them be attacked or invaded or something along those lines.
And it's much more than that because it's a military alliance, right? So
Right.
Our troops train with their troops, that train with their troops, that train with their troops. Our communications work with their communications, that work with their communications. Our airplanes speak the same language when they're flying together, so they see each other as friendly. It is huge. And as Ryan Hansen is pointing out, there is one person who has been against NATO from the get-go. He served 4 years, did his best to sever ourselves from this important and critical alliance. That's Donald J. Trump. So today there was a story that came out from Reuters that the war in Ukraine and looming U.S. presidential election is dominating the NATO summit in Washington this month. But far away from the public stage, the alliance military planners have been focused on assessing an enormous cost of fixing Europe's creaking defenses. For a long time, it's true. A lot of countries haven't been meeting the suggested GDP spending on defense towards NATO,
which is
That's
one of
true.
Trump's big points he tries to make out of that. But his big thing is that we do all the spending, and the other 31 countries do all the benefit, and they don't contribute the same way that we do.
And that is a very okay. I guess at its core, it's true. I think we spend more of our GDP on NATO efforts as opposed to a lot of these countries. However, a lot of these countries don't have the economic resources and buoyancy the United States does, that they can contribute more than the suggested percentage of GDP. What we're finding out now is that in all of this entire Ukraine-Russia situation, which goes back to not only the Syria-Russia situation, goes back to the Georgia-Russia situation, is that we are clearly at a point in our global political situation that we have to acknowledge something. This is not going to sound fun. We have to acknowledge that war is coming. Like it or not. Mm-hmm. And some of the core tenets of the show have been telling us, like, we've been telling and showing proof of our assertion that we've been under attack, informational, is that a word? Information wise, we've been under an information attack, we've been under an influence attack, and for sure, if NATO just says, look, we just identified a lot of weak points in our ability to defend against a full-scale invasion, understand that Russia already knew that.
Yes, that's not a... Yeah, like, Putin is not sitting back going, wait a minute, what? Yeah,
this
no,
is
he
news?
knew. Yeah.
Wait, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, his people definitely have been telling him that, and that's why he has been somewhat bold in his way he's gone about this whole Ukraine thing. Now, there's also arguments that he is militarily kind of failed in a lot of ways, but he persists because he knows that he can wear Ukraine down, but also that the rest of Europe really isn't equipped to help long term.
He can wear Ukraine down. He knows Europe's not properly equipped, but he also is relying on the fact that he's waging a hybrid war against the United States politically, and that it's not an immediate, oh shit, Russia's invading Ukraine? Fuck that. Here are your F-16s, here are your HIMARS, here are all of your long-range missiles, here's your missile shield that we conveniently provided to Israel. Here's everything you need to defend yourself. Right? No, there was weakness there, to be honest with you. Strategically, too, because compare the situations. Compare it, Ukraine, Israel. Compare the world response. Right? The hot spot versus it's Ukraine. Most people can't find Ukraine on the map. The response is different, and it's because Russia knows these weak points in NATO. So NATO's been called out, not only by the former president, but honestly, this Reuters column literally says like they have not been spending, and now almost in a panic about like, well, we need to ramp up spending to defend themselves in the event what? Literally, this is in the event of Trump being reelected and basically saying, like Ryan Hansen just stated, I'm out. He's already said those countries...
He's made it play very clear that he plans on pulling out of NATO. Yeah.
Those countries don't pay enough. So unless they pay up, we're not going to help them out. You know what that extortion sounds like? Have you seen The Sopranos?
Right.
Have you seen The Godfather? Right.
Right. It's mafia-style protection.
Like, I will help you, but you got to help me, right? You got to give me something more than what I'm giving you. Which is exactly why he was, I'm talking about Trump, impeached in the first place. Because he leaned into Ukraine and literally told the president of Ukraine, unless you come up with some fructacta stories and evidence that Joe Biden is corrupt so we can impeach him, we are not going to provide you with any kind of defense.
Yes, that was literally why he was impeached.
Literally why. Documented why he was impeached. That he literally tried to extort the leader of an ally country for defense purposes. We have to be wary of these things.
You said something that I think is interesting because you're right. War is coming, right? And for someone like me, who understands the war machine and the military-industrial complex and the dark underbelly that is kind of pushing us towards war because it's beneficial and profitous for them, But at the same time, you have done a great job of educating me on why American intervention in other people, because at its core, Tulsi Gabbard, her stance on foreign policy, on its surface, I tend to agree with, which is, it's not our fucking problem. Let them deal with it. Right? It's don't put our nose in other people's business, which on its surface sounds like a great idea. But when you look at the world politics, the world political stage, we have to intervene because if we don't, no one else will. And the bad guys, the Legion of Doom, will take up the vacuum. In the vacuum that Superman is no longer around to police them, and the Justice League, if the Justice League isn't around to keep the Legion of Doom from being bad guys, they'll be bad guys because that's what that's what they want to take over the world.
It's like
Someone has to stop them, and we're the only ones capable.
Ben, you and I are wrestling fans to our core, whether we love it or love to admit it or not.
Right.
This type of situation is like a Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you got 4 guys that believe like, hey, you got this gimmick, I got this gimmick, but we all kind of believe in the same kind of like, we're the faces, right?
Right, we're the baby faces, yeah.
And then you've got 4 other dudes that are like, well, you know what, fuck you.
Right. Fuck you and what you stand for.
And we're gonna be the bad guys. And not to make it crude, but to look at the players that would fit into like the good guys and the bad guys. Like, if you have any inkling of what it's like to live as just a common regular person in either Russia, North Korea, Iran, and let's just say, I don't know, Syria. Syria has been injured.
Saudi Arabia.
Let's just say Vietnam.
Okay.
All right. And you look at the absolute limitations to the things that we on the other side of the ring in this Survivor Series equation, let's call it America, Australia, UK, let's throw Canada in there and just make it happy, right?
Sure.
Right? That we have freedoms. We have that they don't. They're angry at us, but the people that are angry at us for those things aren't necessarily the people. The people, right? But that's what it is. It's this ideological fight of power and people who have so much to lose and so much to gain. I think that's the tenet of the show, that as we grow as a country and mature as a country and embrace our diversity, we have the potential to be something very special. And that was what our founders, as white and misogynistic and slave-owning as they were, said, fuck it. We all could do better than this. Whether they meant it or not, we're co-opting that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You said that we can be better than this. And gosh darn it, it's lining up to a situation where, man, we have to start making decisions. And if we don't now, Ben, I'm sorry to say this, but I know plenty of people our age that have children. It's going to be our kids, your kids. They're going to be fighting these wars.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not going to be us. But our decisions, our choices will shape that world in which our children, your children, are going to have to try to navigate. So, come on, folks. We're come on. Fight for the mercenary. Look, I may have pontificated. I may have had a few too many prior to
it is right around that time.
And the Costco wine certainly kicking in. So, folks, if you're good, just be kind, be generous as best you can, be courteous, and understand you're not the only person, but you are the only version of your person on this planet. So just experience it, enjoy life for what it is. Nobody knows what happens after this. None of us.
Speaking of this planet.
Speaking of the planet that we live, we just broke the hottest temperature record. Ben, it's not the first time we've actually had this story on the show. It's just the latest time.
It's just the latest from 9 hours ago.
We set a record here, and I'm sure we talked about it in July of 2023 when the last record was broken. Yeah. Folks, it's getting hot. Hot. out there. And it's not just like, Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cumulative effect of our effect on Mother Nature. It cannot be denied. You can't hide behind, oh, well, this is our economy, and we do this, and we emit that. Cool. All of these things change in human history. So it needs to change again, right? You can't sit behind well, this is what we do to defend ourselves. This is what we do to explore. This is what we... No, it's time to change all of that. Because it's not going to get cooler until all of the ice caps melt. There is an incredible amount of flooding. And I don't mean I don't even mean Katrina level New Orleans flooding. I mean new oceans and lakes type, like the eastern seaboard of the United States doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it's lakefront property in Ohio.
Arizona Bay.
Because when the world gets too hot and those ice caps melt, that water goes somewhere.
Right? Yeah, like it is. I don't think people realize the water doesn't just, the ice cap doesn't melt and the water immediately evaporates into the air. That's not how that's going to work.
And look, you're not going to win a fight against water.
It's right. You cannot win. The coasts of this country are going to change, maybe in our lifetime.
By Florida.
Yeah, there's a good chance that that Florida and the only thing I'll be sad about. The only thing I'll be sad about if Florida's gone is that it will impact the lightning round, because we'll have much less stories for the lightning round if Florida falls into the ocean.
They'll unfortunately, unlike the wildlife that will surely be lost, and I'm talking about the manatees and the crocodile, and the pythons. I'm sure Florida man will survive. That's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yes.
They'll
right.
migrate north.
He'll move to Georgia and become Georgia man.
That's Georgia man, if not already Georgia man.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, and this is not like, hey, we're condemning the auto industry. We're condemning the car. Auto. No, we're just pointing out those things, which we can, if we wanted to, make a serious and drastic effect on in a positive way. And I'm talking about emissions, cars, better public transportation for major metropolitan areas would absolutely do gangbuster numbers for lowering emissions.
And would provide jobs.
We're talking about just reimagining what we do as human beings as far as emit our emissions into the air. What do we do that it literally causes this planet to warm outside of its normal cycle?
Yeah, the hottest it's ever been, twice in 1 week.
Twice in 1 week.
Crazy.
So when you hear the EV conversation, you hear we need to go wind power, we need to go hydropower. Understand that is part of the solution, and the science has been scrappy-doo to kind of get to where it is right now. And if you put more money into it, it gets more efficient, it gets more prevalent. Ben, you have solar panels, don't you?
I do, and I have an EV, 2 EVs now.
So I was just 2 weekends
a hybrid and an EV, but yes.
I was hanging out at Supreme's house.
Yes.
And had a conversation with wife of Supreme, who pulled out her phone and showed me her application, where it showed exactly how much money she was saving by having her solar panels power her home and then how much money she was getting paid by the power company.
Yep, for feeding back into the system.
Sending energy back into the grid. And I was like, well, goddamn.
Yeah. It should be an easy sell, but people are unreasonably resistant to the idea.
It should be a requirement.
It really should be on all new homes that they come with solar power. That right there.
Requirement.
And if you encourage, now they did do it with some tax credits and tax, things to try to encourage
like
people.
Retrofitting kind of. But
right. Make it a thing where you equip all the homes that exist now, and then moving forward, all new homes are equipped. But again, we privatized energy, and so you're going to have lobbyists and corporations. I mean, they're not going to just go quietly and let their money stream dry up because everyone moves to solar power and has batteries in their homes to back up, and they're completely off the grid and not contributing at all, and they're not paying those large corporations, large sums of money. Keep in mind, the energy companies, it's basically like compound interest. They can raise your rates every year, and do raise your rates every year. They're somewhat limited in how much they can go up, but be sure that they are always going to increase. You're never going to see an energy company year over year decrease the price of energy. Right? That's never going to happen.
Down. The rent never goes down.
It never goes down. That's like the price of gas. It's never going to go down.
Okay, which is fine, because in the social contract we're supposed to be agreed to is that, like, my wage increase at work is commensurate with the cost of living increase across the board of commerce in a nation or the world, right?
Right.
And that's, I guess, that's actually a different show, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's those type of things. If we were bold enough to invest in soul and encouraging and supporting people that want to convert to solar power for their homes, it would have an immediate impact. But there are big money interests that will do everything they can to stop those movements from happening, because it will affect their stock prices, right? And that's that. They just can't have that. They are beholden to stockholders who demand returns on their money. And so if you're going to stand in the way of that by trying to get people to no longer be on the grid, no longer pay for their energy, you can understand they are not going to go quietly in the night and let that happen.
They're not happy about that one bit.
No, not at all. Speaking of not happy.
But also, like, welcome to capitalism. Like, you got to pivot sometimes, pals.
Well, yeah.
Look, no, you're right. In the week that we haven't talked since last Wednesday, you've probably been touched by this.
Definitely have. At work, we had multiple computers go down.
I know at Gigi's, at the lovely girlfriend's place of employment, it definitely affected her. And she works for a children's hospital.
Yeah. The Texas Department of Motor Vehicles was affected.
There was a problem. And if you were traveling, you certainly experienced some issues when the CrowdStrike application upgrade absolutely took a shit on you and probably stranded you, I don't know, for days at a time, and paralyzed almost 10 million different Microsoft computers or mainframes, basically.
So what does CrowdStrike do to say sorry?
CrowdStrike, in its ever-loving and omnipotent wisdom, decided to offer $10 Uber Eats gift cards as an apology, according to several.
Our bad.
Hey guys, we paralyzed the world. So here's a $10.
Here's
Uber
$10
Eats,
Uber Eats
which immediately $3 and like 27 cents of that gift card is taken up by like Uber Eats fees.
Right, exactly.
Not
What could you
$10.
what could you even get for $10? Have they not eaten out? Like, you can't get anything for $10.
Well, they probably couldn't even access the app because CrowdStrike's fucking update screwed their application. You couldn't even look. We're talking about, like, I think Delta is on day 6. Delta Airlines is on day 6 of a situation where they haven't been able to get their systems up and reschedule flights. This has not been covered well enough because there's legitimately an almost humanitarian, I would say crisis, but a situation at like airports all over this country. Remember, we're America, right? We're the golden child here, the golden city on the hill. That there are thousands of people stuck at these transportation hubs because, first of all, the airlines can't get their shit together. Hello, Delta. Pete Buttigieg is going to have a word with you. Right? But because all of these people are stuck in these centralized transportation hubs, there are no hotel rooms available. There are no rental cars that you can drive to your destination or home if you needed to, right? They are
just stuck.
They're stuck in these airports and literally camping out in terminals because they literally have no way to get home. Because
it speaks to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Because this fuckwad CEO of CrowdStrike, who is, by the way, CTO of McAfee antivirus software back in the day when that fucking brand mattered. And I say that because he's the same CTO of McAfee back in the day when that brand mattered, that released an update that wasn't ready and sank the McAfee antivirus software brand so badly that its stock value was so low that Intel said, oh yes, please, we're going to buy up all your shit on the cheap. But this guy got a golden parachute and did it again.
Unbelievable. What this speaks to me, and what it made very clear to kind of tie this into some previous stories we were just talking about. The world, when I say we, the world is so dependent on the internet and internet access to do business on a day. Our car dealership the car dealership that I work at, we could, if the internet was, let's just say, hacked and shut down across this country, our dealership we would not be able to do business. Our business is so dependent on so many levels to having internet access that if we didn't have that access, we could not do business. I mean, the CDK thing is a great example. An attack on the internet would cause a level of chaos in this country. If it were down for an extended period, you're talking about it. This was a minor blip, really, because if you just restarted the computer enough, the update would eventually go through.
14 times.
It was just it was annoying, but it would eventually go through. So it was ultimately just a minor bump in the road. But what it exposes to me is the danger of the internet being hacked to a level where it would cripple this country. Travel, banking, so many things. Everything would be affected by it.
That's how fragile this thing is. Like you just described, a bump in the road. You just described this hack that fucked up travel. so badly as a bump in the road. And it is, honestly, because it was just travel, right? It didn't affect water.
Right.
Or it didn't affect power, electricity, nuclear power plants, defense installations. It didn't affect aviation, didn't shut planes down, because those are connected to the network too.
We are so, as a society, and it's so crazy because this is something that has happened in our lifetime, right? Like, you and I can remember a time before the internet. We could tell generations about. I was there when there was no. I was there when the internet first started, and it was dial-up, and you had to share the phone line, so nobody could be on the phone when you were when you went on the computer on the internet. Like, it's gone from that in such a short period of time to literally being the lifeblood of our society, to a point that our society would seriously collapse upon itself. It would no longer be able to function if the internet were out for an extended period, or just shut off completely. Like, what if it shut off and never came back on? What the fuck would we do as a society? We would be fucked.
Like 8 billion or 9 billion of us, for sure. Okay, so to address Ryan Hansen, yes, this has been a very intense and actually unplanned. We there was actually different directions and off ramps for some of these serious topics, but it's what we do here as shepherds ranting to the stars. Ben and I got into a thing. We want to kind of go to a story that when I tell you that multiple people, multiple sources sent me this story.
Yes, I heard about this.
People
immediately saw this story, and multiple people immediately thought we were the ones to discuss this.
Like Topic Thunder.
Yeah.
Like it so much that it got so much that it was like, we can't do this for the lightning round.
Right, because this headline is very lightning round-esque, but you've heard of cocaine bears, right? We've talked about cocaine bears.
You may have seen that movie. Very entertaining, very horrifying.
Yes, but also very entertaining, yes.
The last thing you want is an apex predator high on cocaine.
Right, but turns out, in
Cocaine
real life,
sharks.
we have an apex predator high on cocaine.
And cocaine sharks, predators have been found off the coast of Brazil that have tested positive for coke. Sharks in the waters off Brazil have tested positive for cocaine, marine biologists said in a new study, marking the first time the drug has been found in these free-ranging predators. 13 sharp-nosed sharks were taken from the coast off of Rio de Janeiro and tested for cocaine and benzos. The primary, it's benzo-like ligoinamine. That's not my best ever. The primary molecule in cocaine. Each shark's liver and muscles tested positive for high levels of cocaine. The study found, and the female sharks tested had higher concentrations of cocaine in their muscles than male sharks. So we're breeding more cocaine sharks. Yes. The scientists who dubbed the study cocaine shark, haha, it's not funny, posted that this may show a correlation between a shark's weight and size and how it metabolizes cocaine, but the study noted more research was necessary. CBS News partner BBC reported that experts have multiple theories on how the illicit substances entered the water. It's possible that illegal labs where cocaine was manufactured could be to blame. Scientists also said it could be entering the waterway through excrement of drug users.
Jesus.
A less likely theory is that packs of cocaine lost or dumped at sea could be to blame. Cocaine and other illicit drugs have previously been found in water drainage and river systems. Let's be very clear about this. All of these possibilities are a yes.
Yes.
Right.
I think they're all combined.
Right.
To be a
The
yes.
scientists said that the drug could be entering the waterway through the excrement of users. Well, that cocaine goes somewhere when you pee it out, right?
We were already agreed on this show that the ocean and sharks in particular were already one of the most terrifying things we can think of. Now add cocaine-fueled sharks in deep water. Cocaine sharks in the water, high on cocaine, coming after you.
Are we not acknowledging the fact that orcas have been attacking boats and whales have recently just been attacking boats?
And specifically their livers.
Why?
Do orcas want to get at the cocaine?
They're after the cocaine.
We are onto something here.
Coke shark.
Coke shark coming at you.
Coming at you on a future Topic Thunder. Okay, so Ryan Hansen is asking specifically for a palate cleanse. I don't necessarily have a warm and
this is cool though. This is worth seeing though. I saw this in the warm up for the show. This is a pretty cool video.
We always talk about on this show is that we're just a little floating Christmas ornament in the universe, right? In our galaxy and then our solar system. And there are things that float by this planet, that miss this planet, and as recorded history has shown us, sometimes strike this planet. We have never, ever been in a situation in our history where we've been able to video record that, which is why we should really pay more attention to the things that are shown and painted on cave walls, in crypts and monuments and tombs. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is what our ancestors saw, and we're like, how do we describe this?
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Our next generation. This is what they saw.
How would you describe that if you didn't know any better? It almost looks fake. But you can look at how it lights up the sky like that.
It's a meteorite over Portugal that entered the atmosphere and then burned up after providing that display.
That's incredible. And for that girl just randomly to have captured it.
But
you're right, man. Look, imagine people thousands of years ago.
How?
How would you describe that? When you saw that, for the first time, it would obviously freak you the fuck out. And if you couldn't explain it, you'd come up with some sort of weird mythological story to try to explain it, wouldn't you?
To quell your fears. And that is what every religion tries to do. What every odd belief system that holds a dogmatic...
it's trying to explain shit like that.
You can't we can. We can explain that. But
now
we can't explain a dude who survives a 3-day crucifixion on a cross and comes back to life after 3 days being sealed in a tomb. I can't explain that. I can explain a meteorite burning up in the atmosphere. And I can even explain at this point the colors that were shown in that represent different types of elements in that meteorite that were burning up and give off a different type of color when they are exposed to heat. Because
science.
And with that, folks, it's a great transition into my dad's favorite segment of the show. It's the lightning round, Shaka Bra, which I'm bringing back into the lexicon, whether you or anybody else, Gigi, like it. Ladies and gentlemen, really quick, the rules of the lightning round. 3 stories enter. 1 story is chosen by you, the people. And that is basically the ultimate exercise in democracy. We appreciate everybody in the chat zone right now. So we will not dilly or dally, folks. Headline number 1. A Royal Guard horse bites a woman so hard that she faints.
Whoa.
Headline number 2. Man lost at sea for 438 days was sued for $1 million by family of his crewmate.
Wow, that seems...
Very
Well, there's more to that, because that seems very mean-spirited.
I don't know. It's a lightning round. Who knows? And headline number 3. Human finger found in Tacoma driveway ID'd and returned to owner.
All right. This is a different one this week. There's no standout. Maybe the third one might be the standout winners. We've already got a vote in for number 3. But I think this is going to be very interesting. I could see this being spread out among the 3 stories. But I could also see the finger thing sticks out a little bit. And I'm seeming to be right. Oh, hey. The votes are pouring in. 3 votes for number 3 already.
So while we're going to take this moment to just self-advertise. You folks know, most of you do, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the world's most dangerous chat zone, the Thunderdome. Hey, if you haven't already, as you're voting, as you're sitting there literally at your keyboard with the mouse in hand, and you see that little like button next to the venue that you're watching this show on, click it.
Maybe tell people, share it. You can do that.
Tell people, I don't
invite
think
people in.
I don't think this is something you should be embarrassed about. I don't think we produce a show that be like, oh my God, oh shit. Like, oh my God, those guys.
Well, a lot of people are like, oh, that guy, when they're talking about
okay, so as votes are rolling in, and you're clicking furiously your like buttons and whatever venue you're watching the show, we're going to go over the stories one more time.
Yeah, because the Australian guys have got to be out there somewhere with a vote. You know he's out there.
You never know. Bobby Suzuki.
Amazing wop stopper. He or she's got to be out there.
They.
Headline
number 1. A Royal Guard horse bites a woman so hard that she faints.
That sucks.
It does. You're just going ahead. You're just,
You're just trying to pet a horse and it bites you so hard you faint.
You're just on a tourist.
Although at the same time, maybe you should have left that fucking horse alone.
Don't get too close. Number 2. Man lost at sea for 438 days was sued for $1 million by the family of his crewmate.
It's a dick move. I don't care.
Seriously. And headline number 3. Human finger found in a Tacoma driveway was ID'd and returned to the owner.
Yeah, that's the winner in my opinion. There's some, because I gotta know, how did someone lose a finger? A, how did it end up in someone's driveway? B, and C, was the guy happy to have gotten it back? All right, here we go. Alternate headlines. Read the sign. Horse bites. Raft man gets screwed twice. And who gave me the finger? Who gave me the finger? Yeah, 3's running away with it. Billy Wack has been the only person that has voted anything other than number 3 at this point.
Stand out. I'd like to know.
Chompy Mage, not out there. I think it's been decided at this point.
democracies.
Is there a link that you could send me? Is there photos of individuals involved in this?
Maybe, and I can send that to you here because I saved my Facebook chat window with you.
Yeah.
This is me speaking seductively, just to let you all know that every Wednesday night here on Topic Thunder, we do Topic Thunder. And you should join us. And for some reason, my chat's not coming up with Ben. And I'm totally stalling for time right now.
Vamp.
But I'm also really hungry. So I think we're just going to go through it.
Just go with it. Fuck it. We don't need it. Let's go. I got to pee
I'm
too.
gonna say it. We're gonna do it live.
Fuck it.
Ben. A human finger was found in a Tacoma driveway, but it was ID'd and returned to its owner. Tacoma, Washington. Hello. A case of a mysterious human finger found in a Tacoma driveway earlier this month has been solved, and the digit has been returned to its rightful owner. During the afternoon of July 5, Tacoma police officers responded to a report of a finger found in the driveway of the 800 block of South Pine Street. My Pine! According to statements to the TPD Public Information Officer Detective William Hughes, sent to My Northwest. I don't know what that means either. Muse provided an update in a statement to My Northwest, which I assume is a news publication, Thursday.
I found the link.
That a person saw the story and called Pierce County Medical Examiner's Office, which had taken custody of the digit. Again, to repeat, the Pierce County Medical Examiner's Office took custody of the digit to claim the finger. The man identified himself by his surname, and that wine's catching up high, and admitted to losing multiple digits, quote, messing around with some fireworks.
Yes.
Muse didn't provide the identity of the man who claimed the finger in the statement. He did explain that latent prints on the recovered finger corresponded with the information about the person available in the FBI database.
So the guy his fingerprints were in the FBI database already.
And the police took fingerprints of a severed, detached finger. There's nothing great.
They think it was left on the property by an animal.
Like, imagine, like, dude, Ben, like, we just showed up at a call, right?
Right, yeah, we're the cops.
Hey, I found a finger here. All right, shit. Let's run the prints. That's what they did for this detachable finger. Right?
Detachable penis. Oh.
Muse concluded.
Perhaps a bird, yes.
The case hadn't been assigned to an investigator and added that no criminal charges will be pursued. Previous information about the human finger found in Tacoma. That's literally in bold, and I think that's Calibri or Tacoma print and font. At least 12. Mm-hmm. Tacoma police said there was no blood around the finger, and it appeared to have been possibly left on the property by an animal, perhaps a bird. At that time, TPD officers attempted to identify the finger using portable fingerprint scanner, which is another, like, what life are we living in? Anyway, but no identification was to be made. Calls were made to local hospitals, but they didn't report anyone being treated over the 4th of July with any such dismembering injury, which is
so this guy blew his own fucking fingers off and didn't go to the hospital. And then found out, and then heard that there were digits found, and was like, "Oh yeah, those are probably mine because I blew my fucking fingers off yesterday."
There are so many Rough Me Up songs being discussed right now as titles. Like, yes, somebody blew their fingers off. Nobody knows nothing. Police show up, find something, literally run that something through the fingerprint database of the FBI. And the FBI is like, well, fuck, we don't know either. All right.
And then the guy calls up and claims it. Hey, I heard you guys found a finger. I think it might be mine. I blew my fingers off.
They should do it a year from that date and be like, I heard you found my finger a year ago. This has been Topic Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. We try to provide a safe space and an environment for intelligent and respectful conversation, and I think we achieved that. From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate you and your support in the world's most dangerous chat zone, the Thunderdome. It's from the USS Rapapa that we say goodnight, ladies and